Right, so today I'm going to talk about my finished build. This is like my final playable build with the Mk18 and the Prowin Gearbox. And I'm just going to talk about the Prowin as well. The sort of difficulties and experience I've had with it, because it is not everything it's cracked up to be. It is a major pain in the bum when you first get it, to get it to fit in the body and to get everything to fit, like the parts that you want to fit in it. The upper gearbox, the upper part of the gearbox isn't that much of a hassle. It comes apart in a bit of a weird way. Springs easy to get in. Cylinder head retention system doesn't really bother me, that was fine. Although it's a bit of a pain in the bum to get the cylinder head and tap it and nozzle and all that stuff in, because the tolerances are so tight. Like, it is got to go in a very specific way. Nozzle length seems okay, gets the output it should, so I'm pretty sure the nozzle length's fine. Tappet plates. The tappet plate has to have the hook further forward, or it will just keep snapping the hook off. So I'm using a JG tappet with mine. Drilled a hole through it, put a screw in and filed the screw to make a hook. I would cut the tappet spring a wee bit as well, because obviously if it's closer to the front it's not going to be as tight. Hop up. The hop up is, there's a lot of angle on the travel of the arm. The window is quite small, so it's not great for doing, you know, flat hop, extended R hop, normal R hop. It's not great for that. Definitely not for the extended stuff. You probably could extend the barrel window, but because there's so much angle on travel of the arm, it's not going to apply a very even pressure. The hop rubber has to be shortened as well, that's not a problem. Getting the whole thing into this upper was not the smoothest procedure in the world, but it's in. Everything feeds fine. Feeding doesn't seem to be a problem with it. This trigger, for some reason, worked with the normal trigger contacts, but with the BTC Chimera Mark II, with the new trigger board, it was stiff, like sideways, for some reason, and when they pull. So I just removed the material from the sides and it's fine. The Chimera Mark II trigger board, I don't know about the Spectre, if it would even be able to modify it this much, but I had to enlarge the holes for it to fit, because the hole in the Prowin for the trigger contacts to sit like to align with is bigger than every other gearbox, it seems. It's not a huge problem, it's just a, you know, beware if you're wanting to use you know, a Chimera or whatever. Biggest issue I've had with this gearbox is the shimming of the bevel is difficult, because you can't, it pulls apart like the lower section of the gearbox. One side has everything stays in it, like completely everything. It does not split in half. You cannot screw the grip onto the other side of the gearbox, so it's really hard to get the motor height totally perfect without it like offsetting the bevel and like that way, if you know what I mean, when you're setting the motor height. Apart from that, it was fine. KWA bevels don't go very well in it because they're a bit too wide, like diameter wise they're slightly too wide, but you can just file the edges of it or whatever, you know. That's what's in using a KWA bevel on this, and not had any problems with it. Apart from that, the rest of the shimming for the spur and the sector is absolutely great. It's so easy to do because you can like literally see right on top of the gears. Cut off lever and stuff. Don't know if it was just with this body. This is a King Arms body. It required a lot, like a big amount of modification to get this gearbox to fit. So I wouldn't recommend a King Arms body with a Prowin. The wire is probably the biggest problem for the whole thing. The wiring, the hole for it comes out like just here, right behind the grip. So it runs through the back of the grip right up around there and then up into the buffer tube for this. Don't know how you do it for front wired. Wouldn't really make much sense for a front wired gun since, you know, you'd have to do the wiring out to get the body apart, but whatever. The wire hole is a really funny shape as well, so if you want to run both wires down the back like this is, it's really quite awkward if you're using, I was using 14 gauge alpha wire before this stuff, and even it is slightly too thick for it, so I'm just using the stock wire that comes with the Chimera instead. That seemed to go down a bit easier. I just glued the data wire to the shell as well where it crosses the pinion. Another weird thing though is the wee pins that go between the shell, between like the outside wall of the shell and the inside, you know, like for the wire to run in, are so wide apart that they don't really function much. So I just got like a piece of a rubber washer, cut it and squeezed it down in between the pin and the shell to hold the wire flat, because it was just like non-functional otherwise. 7mm bearings. This is one of the blue Prowin shells. So it's a 7mm Gen 1. It's not got the like U-shape groove in the back of the shell for the wire to run up like they do in the black ones with the 8mm bearings. So it's not that hard to use, it's just a bit of a pain to get everything set up. The upper, this is a DSG in here, and the upper was a bit, it's fine. Setting the AOE wasn't that hard. I just put both halves of the shell together with one side off, and you know, you can see right into set the AOE anyway. It's fine. Apart from that, those things, you know, it is a great gearbox shell. It is, I must say, the finish on this, like the number of tool paths, like passes of the tool, and the tool changes that they must require to make this are huge compared to like the retro arm shells. They must, you know, they can probably do it in, you know, 4 or 5 tool changes in the retro arms, but this one must be, I don't know, if you look at the parts of it, are so much more complex, like rounded corners and everything, and you know, it's taken a long time to produce. It is super well finished compared to the, you know, the other machined gearbox shells. There's no point radius in this due to the way that the upper gearbox goes together. There's like a wee section of metal about that long, a bolt that runs through it that holds the, what would be the bit that cracks on a normal V2, like the big upper top bar bit. There's a big steel bolt that runs through that anyway. Only thing you've got to be careful of is don't over tighten the screws, because they'll strip. Another thing is, when you're assembling this, everything is a super tight fit, you know, nothing can go in at an angle because they must be machined so tight that it has to be flat to go down, and when you're opening it you've got to use like a screwdriver to wedge the parts apart, because they would stay together with no screws. It is an excellent gearbox. There's just, you know, some inherent design, not flaws, but things that would have made things a lot easier if they'd done it a different way. But they sort of rectified most of those things with the Gen 3 and the Gen 2, like the black ones. But, you know, not huge issues with it. The compression thing, yeah, you know, you get perfect compression if you put your finger over the end of the barrel and try and move the piston, but you should get that with a normal gearbox if you do it right. This is a DSG in this, a 16:1 DSG with a Lonex A1, and the Chimera, it's like 38, 39 RPS or a 7.4, and when I chronoed it, it was 64 RPS on an 11.1. When I had the same setup in the Lonex shell, it was 65.2 was the highest it chronoed. That was just with a normal Mosfet as well, but obviously the IRLB 3034 in the TO220 case, and the difference between that and the IRLS 3034 in terms of resistance to making that much of a difference to the rate of fire should be pretty much negligible. Tried some other FETs which I'm using as well. These are the AUFS, we'll try and get to focus, AUFS 8409. This D squared pack they're in, and they are excellent FETs. The half milliohm RDS on, and they claim the die can take 522 amps, but obviously the case can only take 240, so you know, they're good. I like surface mount. I'll maybe make a video about my new surface mount Mosfets, just hand making PCBs for them just now because they're like prototypes, but might end up with a Mosfet on one side and a polyfuse on the other side eventually, but they're good FETs. The Chimera, I must say, I'm incredibly impressed with. It is so easy to program, and the trigger pull is like less than a mil easy. Obviously there's over travel, but I just this is a speed trigger, you know, with the wee grub screw in the back, so tightened it all the way up so that it was, the motor was, I just done it with the motor. Motor was spinning, then just backed off till it stopped, so the trigger pull is literally as soon as you touch it, it shoots, you know. It's excellent. You know, I think that's pretty much all I've got to say about this gun. You know, this is finally done. I used to have a G&G body and stuff, changed it to this King Arms because it is much nicer than the G&G plastic ones. I'd sort of expect the buffer tube is King Arms and stuff as well. So I think I'll round that up. That's enough for us. Thanks for watching.